The first scream tore through the pine needles as if the forest itself were reeling from disbelief when a shrill voice crackled into the emergency line, demanding reinforcements to stop the lawlessness erupting at my weekend retreat. In 2 sentences flat, Karen McAllister had transformed our innocent gathering into a headline crisis. I froze, clutching my phone while laughter and bass thumped 8 cabins down. Every guest's gaze snapped toward the fading treeline, where Karen's angry silhouette stood against the golden sunset, her swivel phone held high like a weapon of moral outrage. No one expected the HOA president portly, red-faced, self-importanto storm the scene. Even fewer knew her son Isaac was spinning deep house tracks beneath that pine bower. The shock of betrayal sharpened in my gut, as memories of our cordial nods during annual meetings dissolved into the tiled screams of her accusation. She claimed underage drinking, trespassing neighbors, environmental violations. Her polished HOA handbook rattled like a cudgel. Yet beneath the righteous fury, smoke curled from 2 picnic grills and impromptu conga lines stretched between birch trunks, where laughter bloomed in spite of her rage. That night, as sirens wailed kilometers away, we realized the story was far larger than property lines and bylaws. We rallied. Someone yanked the playlist offline. I clicked record on my phone. The truth demanded daylight. I loaded the footage to a live stream titled Cabin Party Under Siege, invoked by my friend Maya's nimble thumbs. Maya, whose calm eyes caught every tilt of Karen's posture, narrated the facts. Isaac, her lanky teenager in illuminated headphones, curated vibes beneath rolling speakers. Across the clearing, her sister Janet balanced a wooden crate of craft beer. One heart-stopping moment when she tipped the first bottle into a cooler. Live comments exploded. HOA hypocrisy. Isn't that her kid? Beer donated by family? The collective outrage became our shield. I emailed the local news outlet the footage tagged, HOA president accuses her own family involved. 10 minutes later, their reporter arrived with a camera crew whose lights cut through the dusky treeline. Karen's mouth dropped open when the lens shifted from the dancing crowd to her son's DJ booth, emblazoned with the family name. The confrontation turned electric. Karen barked at the cameraman to stop illicit filming, brandishing her HOA badge like a judge's gavel. Reporters pressed record. Their questions clung to her sweat-damp collar. She sputtered that her purpose was to protect community standards from reckless youth. Then Janet stepped forward, amber bottles in hand, her voice level and incredulous. She reminded her sister they'd supplied the party with locally brewed beer for the adults only, citing vineyard invoices and age verification wristbands. The live chat exploded as viewers clicked rewind. Janet's confession unspooled the HOA script. Isaac, energized by the chaos, pivoted his deck to play a familiar beat that had roused the initial dance. Now waves of applause followed every drop. Karen's face flushed crimson when her own kin dismantled her. Next came the dramatic showdown no one saw coming. Karen lunged at the portable speaker, her fingers tangling in braided cables as she tried to pull the plug. Isaac twisted away, countering with a flourish that sent ripples of distorted bass through the clearing. Guests encircled her as if a reluctant gladiator, half amused, half determined to defend their host. I seized the moment to speak into the mic. This party stands on respect, not fear. Your bylaws can't silence the truth. My voice trembled with adrenaline, yet carried across the grove like a drumbeat. The cops finally rolled in, lights reflecting ruby dots on the pine bark, but halted when they saw the press badges and video evidence. Karen's zealous accusations lost their breath under the legal weight of her own recorded admissions. In the aftermath, the HOA board convened an emergency session under flickering fluorescents. Minutes before her orchestrated address, news anchors broadcast the video loop. HOA president's son DJs, sister supplies beer. Comments poured in on social media, demanding her resignation. Karen stormed the dais with prepared remarks, but found her audience cool and unsympathetic. The board chair cleared his throat, slid a motion to reprimand her for conflict of interest and misappropriation of HOA resources. Her phone invoice alone was enough evidence. When the gavel fell, her shoulders sagged. The pompous crest on her blazer had lost its shine. Finally came the reckoning. A hush settled over the cabin road as Karen, escorted by board members, packed her adjudication papers into a briefcase stamped dismissed. The clearing echoed with a collective exhalation. I raised my glass under the raspberry dusk and invited every guest to join me. Together we toasted resilience, transparency, and the power of community truth. A ripple of smiles passed through the grove, where moonlight shimmered on the lake's surface like promise. Our cameras captured hands clasped in solidarity, proof that justice need not scream through sirens, but could blossom in shared conviction. As the last echoes of the boardroom gavel faded into the night, guests slipped back into the clearing, their faces glimmering in the moonlight like fireflies that had witnessed a miracle. No one spoke of Karen's departure. Instead, we felt the electric pulse of collective triumph course through us as we gathered around the makeshift stage. Isaac climbed onto a stump, his turntable gleaming under a lone lantern suspended from a pine limb, and with a wry grin he dropped the needle on a remix of that night's unofficial anthem. The beat rippled through the crowd, and laughter rose like incense over the lake's glassy surface as Janet passed around fresh cans of craft brew, each one emblazoned with a stylized pinecone, very symbol Karen had once proclaimed reserved for HOA events only. I watched Maya lean in close, her eyes bright with exultation, and realized this moment was more than a party. It was a declaration that truth and joy could outshine any badge or bylaw. Somewhere beyond the treeline, sirens glowed without sound, a reminder that authority had been invited but refused its role, left standing idle at the edge of our solidarity. As the first notes of the next track swelled, I felt pride bloom in my chest. Our cabin, once a refuge from everyday drudgery, had become ground zero for a reckoning that would ripple through every HOA meeting in the county. Word of our victory had spread across social media faster than wildfire, igniting debates in comment threads from suburban backyards to city council chambers. Local bloggers penned think pieces on how one cabin party exposed systemic hypocrisy, and an independent filmmaker reached out, eager to capture our story in a documentary about grassroots resistance. Each share, each hashtag, painted a portrait of a community refusing to be policed by someone who betrayed her own family's involvement. By dawn's pale light, the party had waned but the energy endured. We lit a bonfire at the water's edge, its crackling flames dancing alongside the stars. Guests drifted between cabins to sleep, carrying sleepy smiles like trophies, while a core group remained to mine the night for wisdom. Around that fire, I proposed we draft our own cabin covenant, a set of guidelines born from respect, consent, and shared responsibility, antidotes to the fear-driven rules Karen had weaponized. Janet volunteered to spearhead a small committee of neighbors to formalize it and present it at the next HOA gathering, ensuring that every voice would be heard, not just those with the loudest badge. Maya offered to catalog tonight's video evidence into an archive we could share with other communities facing similar overreach. Isaac wrote "Party Under Siege" across the wooden sign in bold letters, framing it as a symbol of our unity rather than Karen's complaint. We nailed it to a tree at the entrance, a permanent milestone marking the night tyranny tried to gatecrash our peace and failed. The cabin's walls, once silent witnesses to simple weekend retreats, now seemed to hum with the echoes of defiance. Inside, I found the guestbook and penned a final entry. Tonight we learned that community is built on trust, not fear. May every gathering honor that truth. I slipped the book under a lantern, its pages illuminated like a beacon for future visitors. Outside, the lake's mirrored surface held our reflections, each face catching a spark of dawn's promise. I inhaled the crisp air, tasting liberty in every pine-scented breeze. Across the clearing, the wooden sign glinted in first light, and I knew our story would be recounted long after these logs burned to embers. In the weeks that followed, the HOA board implemented our cabin covenant as a pilot program, inviting public feedback and incorporating safeguards against conflicts of interest, like requiring leaders to recuse themselves from decisions where family involvement existed. Attendance at meetings soared, not from fear but from genuine investment in shared spaces. Karen's vacant seat became a reminder of the cost of hypocrisy, her absence a testament to our victory. Local news outlets ran follow-up segments highlighting the cabin party that changed an HOA, and neighboring communities reached out for templates to adapt our covenant to their own bylaws. What began as a single night under attack had blossomed into a movement for transparent, participatory governance, proof that a group armed only with courage, evidence, and a killer playlist could rewrite the rules. Looking back, I marvel at how a pompous phone call intended to shame us instead illuminated the strength of our bonds. We turned Karen's accusations into an opportunity to strip away fear and build something far more resilient. A community rooted in respect, creativity, and shared accountability. When I docked the kayak at sunrise and stepped onto the dew-kissed grass, I felt Chanjed no longer a quiet cabin host, but a steward of collective values that outshine any rulebook. As I closed my eyes, the distant hum of civilization felt softer, less imposing, because I carried with me the echo of that night's anthem. Unity over division. So now, reader, I pose this to you. Did we honor the true spirit of community by turning conflict into collaboration, or did our celebration merely obscure deeper tensions? Share your thoughts below. What is right and what is wrong when the lines between law and justice blur?